Hey YouTube, how you going? Welcome to another video. I've just got back from a 32k odd run where I was pretty much just up and down hills for the entire time. And while I was out running, I thought of a couple more videos and topics that I haven't yet covered in my How to Prepare for World's Toughest Mudder series. So in this video I'm going to be looking at how you can kind of cope and strategies to help you prepare mentally and that kind of thing for when it's freezing cold, it's wet, you know, it's the middle of the night, that kind of thing, and it's really sucking to be out there on the course. Before I get into that, if you've watched any of my past videos, I just want to mention again that I'm running a little fundraising campaign to help get me over to the Spartan Race World Championships in Vermont. It's going to be a real bare bones trip, but I've been selected as part of the Southern Cross Spartans team to go over there and compete. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be a bit of a shortfall with the money that they're trying to raise, so I'm just got my own little kitty going, try and get a few dollars together to help kind of cover airfares and insurance and that kind of thing. Going to be a real bare bones trip, but I hope to bring you guys lots of content if I go. So if you are feeling generous, I'll put a link down below so you can chuck a few dollars my way. Anyway, last year with World's Toughest Mudder, I used a couple of strategies that helped get me through each lap and helped keep me going. The first one I think is probably the most important. I made sure that I had something to look forward to every single lap. Now I was quite fortunate that my dad managed to make the trip over to America with me, so at a very simple and basic level, it was just like, oh, well, I know Dad's going to be at the finish line, so I'll get to say hi again, see his face, you know, tell him how I'm going, that kind of thing. So if you are fortunate enough to travel with a family member or a friend or something like that, I definitely think it can be a great motivational boost, and it does give you something to look forward to, even though it's literally for, you know, maybe only 1 or 2 minutes as they're kind of transitioning as you're coming in and out of that start area. Obviously they weren't allowed in the pit area last year, but you know, they could still hang around near that start line. And yeah, I recall in particular, I think it was, yeah, it would have been my 4th lap, because I told Dad you know, to not wait up again because I was just going to have a bit of a break in the tent. But I saw my dad on the 4th lap, and it was night time, and he'd actually lost track of me on the course, and he'd been trying to find me since lap 2. So I'd gone the whole of lap 3 without seeing him, and in the end he resigned himself to just standing at the start line for 5 hours until he could, just to make sure he'd catch me at some point. So, you know, to have family members who are willing to do that, you know, it obviously means a lot. And you know, hopefully you've got someone in your family or your friends, that kind of thing, who can make that sacrifice. My dad stayed up for the full 24 hours, so he was a trooper as well, and it really did make a big difference. Especially if you're feeling a little bit low, you know, they can just remind you that you're going really well. You know, you've covered X number of laps, X number of kilometers, and it's, you know, it just helps. The second thing that I found really good was always smiling. Didn't matter what I was doing or, you know, what I was thinking, I always reminded myself, just smile, enjoy the moment. And I think it's especially important, or maybe easier, for people who are traveling from overseas, because our financial commitment and time commitment in terms of, you know, having to take time off work to travel there and that kind of thing is maybe a little bit greater than you guys who are already in America. Not to say that, you know, it doesn't cost you guys a lot, but if you're coming from Australia, you know, you've got, you know, 1.5 to 2 grand worth of airfares and accommodation at a bare basic level, you know, even if you're only there for like a week. Whereas hopefully, you know, if someone's in America and they live close by, you know, especially if you're in New York or something like that, it's just a car trip. So I just reminded myself the whole time that obviously I wanted to do as well as I could, but this whole trip was like a big adventure, and it was, at the time, what I thought could perhaps just be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know, I never knew, so at the time, whether or not I'd go to America again. I didn't know if I'd go race in another international obstacle race. So I just treated it as this like amazing experience that I've got to hold on to, so that, you know, when I'm 50 or 60 years old and telling the grandkids, you know, I can say, you know, back in the day, you know, I travelled to America and did this pretty cool thing. So it's obviously something you can employ if you are in America, because, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. I just think that maybe if you are coming from overseas, obviously with the financial commitment, as I said, it might not be something you can do as often. And the third thing that I want to cover, and I found this pretty good as well, and I actually got a lot of comments back and people saying to me, my God, why are you still so happy? How are you so, pleased with what's going on? And that was, I talked to the volunteers all the time, especially at night. So I'd be running into an obstacle, I'd be like, hey man, how you going? Or, how long have you been out here in the cold? Are you having a good time? And they'd be like, oh, hi. And they're like surprised because obviously so many other people just run past with their heads down and they're not really thinking. But just that, brief interaction, a couple of seconds, it gives you something to do, and most of the time they'll turn around and say, yeah man, keep going, going really well, get over that wall, or make sure you swim across the lake real quick, get out of the water as soon as possible, that kind of thing. And also on top of that, kind of cracking some really lame ass jokes. So like, when I went under the electric eel or something, I'd be like, hey guys, you got to turn the juice up, the batteries are dying, or running through electroshock therapy, the same thing. Because in the middle of the night, the shocks weren't as bad. So it was a legitimate thing, but I was obviously saying it was a bit of a joke, of crossing the cold water. You speak to the guy who's out there on the surfboard and go, man, it must suck to be you having to sit here in the water for like, 5 hours or however long you've been here. And he kind of looks at you going, sucks to be me, I'm sitting on a board and you're swimming. So they're the kind of tips that I employed, and I really found that helped me get through each lap. It helped me take my mind off what I was actually doing, so then like the time and the kilometers just passed a lot quicker. And it can get lonely out there in the middle of the night. I ran a lot of the race just by myself, so anyone to talk to was kind of a welcome distraction. Anyway guys, they're my tips on how to stay positive when it's freezing cold and 3 AM in the middle of the night. Let us know your thoughts down below. Have you got any suggestions? Comment, and I'll see you next video. Thanks for watching.